Yesterday, Sayadaw started to speak about how the yogis, placing their attention on the body and observing the immediately arising object of observation as soon as it arises, how one uses the names of the objects. And this is what the Buddha taught. The Buddha said, "Ida bhekkhave bhikkhu kaye kayanupassi viharati." And the first word, ita bhekkhave bhikkhu. O monks, in this teaching, the bhikkhu, or, in other words, the practicing yogi. Among the practicing yogis, there are monks, and in the times of old there were bhikkhunis. Nowadays there are in their place the Thekashin, the ones who keep sila, and there are upasaka and upasika, laymen and laywomen. These four people all are considered to be bhikkhus, monks. And the reason is that they see the danger in existence. They see the fearful aspect of existence and therefore come to a place like this. In the present life, if in the present life one is immoral, that means that one does not behave as a true human, does not have a humane mentality, and lacks special human knowledge. This is a very low level of life. If we are human, if we're born a human, we should be a true human being. We should have a humane mentality, and we should develop special human knowledge. Everyone is alike in that no one likes to be harmed. No one likes it if they were to be killed or to have things stolen, to be attacked, harmed in any way. And these types of behaviors are disgusting and despicable. If one is disgusted by such behavior, then one keeps one's actions and speech clean, and one's actions and speech become peaceful and gentle. By controlling oneself, the other people are not harmed. They are protected, so one accomplishes two things at a blow: purifying one's behavior as well as protecting others. People should have consideration for others. They should have the ability to understand how another person would feel. Just as I wouldn't like to be harmed, I wouldn't like to have my things stolen, I wouldn't like to have various wrong things done to me, so also one should know that others do not like this either. And with this understanding, one avoids committing such actions, knowing that other people don't like it. And as a result, no one is harmed because of one's actions. Other people are protected. At the same time, one has controlled oneself. So this is the method for being a true human being, and this is called the training of sila, or sila sekha. Further, people should also have the desire for other people to be well, for them not to suffer. And when one has these attitudes follow upon keeping sila, wanting others to be well and not wanting others to suffer. With this attitude, even though anger may arise, dissatisfaction may arise, one can eliminate it easily. So one is able to eliminate the tendencies to cruelty and the tendencies to hatred, which are part of anger, because of wanting others to be well and not wanting them to suffer. So in that case, there is true metta and true compassion. So one feels sympathy for others, and one doesn't want others to suffer, and one wants them to be well. So a person who has this basic attitude, this is a good basic mental attitude, and human beings should have at least this. If we want to even have a better mental attitude, a better heart, then we practice Satipatthana Bhavana. And when the noting becomes quite good, our observation occurs one after another continuously. And at that time, Lobha is not able to enter into our mind stream. Dosa also is not able to enter. So the mind is very high level at this time. And if one continues to practice from this point, seeing the difference between mind and matter, developing knowledge stage by stage, then one's mind becomes even more refined, more gentle, more subtle. So the mind is quite clean. And finally, if one goes from seeing the continual stream of mind and matter that is called bhavata to seeing its cessation, apavata, then one will encounter true peace, true lasting peace. So we practice in order to encounter this at least once. We should practice to achieve this goal. A person who behaves like a true human and who is able to keep a humane heart and who works to develop special human knowledge, such a person will be able to consider whether something is beneficial or not before doing it or saying it. One will be able to consider whether something is suitable or not. With the practice, this knowledge becomes better. Such a person won't commit any major wrongs because of their ability to consider in this way about the beneficial, whether something is beneficial or not, or suitable or not. And with this, one's life becomes very straightforward. The path of one's life becomes straight. So try it and see. If one walks the right path, one is sure to reach the safe place that is free of danger. So it's very important to find the right path. And it's not enough simply to read or to hear about it. One has to find a method and find a good spiritual friend. And according to the instructions of this friend, one should follow the path that they point out. If one keeps on walking, when one starts to encounter the true Dhamma, one will become happy. And from this point, it won't take long. In a moment, one can gain great happiness. So to reach this, Sayadaw is urging the yogis every day, according to what the Buddha taught, as explained by the late Most Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw. In the world, there are various types of human tasks. There are easy tasks, and there are difficult ones. But whatever the task, even if it's easy, if one doesn't have any experience, it's difficult. And even a task that is not easy, if one has experience, if one has practice, then it becomes easy. So we should consider this and look at ourselves. It's not easy to collect the mind. It's not easy to make the mind clean. It's also not easy to develop knowledge. But it's not impossible. It's possible. And that's why the Buddha taught how to do it. He found the way to do this. He did it himself, and he taught this way. And here the yogis are practicing this teaching, which is Kayanupasi Viharati. That means to make a practice of repeatedly observing the arising kaya as kaya, to dwell repeatedly observing kaya as kaya, or matter as the body as body. First of all, one has to make a practice of it. One has to develop the ability, and then it becomes easy. At that time, one's observation flows like a river. So starting with the rising and the falling, one is able to observe every physical object arising in one's being, every other object also in one's being. One by one, one's observation flows like a river without a break, and this is called Anupasi. So when we say that one develops this practice or comes to possess this skill or ability, what is in this skill or this ability to observe repeatedly? Without some type of capability, one won't be able to, one can't be said to have a skill. Without some type of capability, one has not yet developed good practice. So what is this practice of repeated observation? The Buddha showed the components of Anupassana as atapi, that is one word he used, and satima. Atapi means one who possesses ardent effort. So one's effort can't be cool or slack or sluggish. One has to be alert, active, awake, and quick. And only if one has this ardent energy, or atapa, will Anupassana occur. That is, will one be able to observe repeatedly. So one places the attention on the abdomen, and the abdomen rises. At that moment, to make the mind reach that object, to make the mind stick to the rising, one applies ardent effort. One can't be sluggish or slow about applying this effort. One can't be cool. One has to be alert, active, awake, and quick. And if one does, then one is developing the practice of Anupassana, repeated observation. If one's observations, if one's effort occurs one after another continuously, then this effort, or virya, has momentum. And this is Anupassana. One who possesses this is called Anupasi. As soon as the object of observation arises, if virya, effort, is not there at all, or if it's there but it's slack, then sati will not stick to the arising object. So it is in order to make sati stick to the object that we have to apply this push to get the mind to the object, the ardent effort. And in 1 minute, if there are 60 seconds, there are 60 seconds, and if each second of the time we should apply effort to get the mind to the rising, so that sati will stick. We should apply effort, this pushing the mind with ardent effort to get the mind to the falling, so that sati will stick to it. We always need to apply this effort, and we need a lot of it, and it needs to be continuous. So if we have it, then the benefit is that laziness cannot enter our mind, because as soon as effort arises, as long as effort arises, as long as effort is being applied, laziness cannot enter. So if we are not free of laziness, then the mind can become retracted, and if this mind backs off, then it doesn't want to make effort, and the mind will not be clean. So as long as we make effort to observe the arising object, this laziness cannot enter the mind. Every second we should try to have effort to observe the arising object. This quality should be there, or at least every other second, that is 30 times in a minute. And with the application of virya, there will be no laziness. The mind will gain victory over laziness. This ardent effort, when its energy becomes fulfilled one by one, it becomes excessive in a way. I mean, it becomes quite a lot. And this is praiseworthy. And one starts to feel that the effort is really good, because starting with laziness, the defilements are not entering the mind. So the yogis come to understand this for themselves, and they come also to praise effort themselves. When one sees the results that come from effort, then one understands its virtues. So the yogis should consider, look at themselves, starting with the rising and the falling. Is ardent effort there to observe every arising object or not? In 1 minute, how many times am I able to apply ardent effort? And if one can apply ardent effort time and again, 1 second after another, then laziness doesn't enter the mind. The mind becomes clear, and this is good. This is praiseworthy. So in this time, one should try to make one's effort praiseworthy. That ardent effort is in order to get the mind to stick to the newly arising object. But if effort is excessive, then the mind will slip off the object. And if it's weak, the mind won't reach the object. It won't stick to the object. So in order to make the mind have the right amount of effort, to be neither too much nor too little, we need jhana, which is to observe sticking closely to the object. Jhana is explained as upanijjhana, which means to stick to the object and firmly, steadfastly observe it, to be very focused on the object. So one, in order to make the mind be focused in this way on the arising object, such as the rising, one has to aim properly. So this is the quality of aiming is part of how we get the mind to be focused properly. And this is what is needed to make the mind stick, both aiming and focusing. So this factor, we can just call it aiming. If both aiming and the application of mental energy are present, then the mind will always be alert. Because with effort or virya, laziness will be overcome. And with the factor of focused aiming, this makes the mind fresh. And therefore sloth and torpor or tinamita will not enter the mind. For starting yogis, this factor of tinamita, sloth and torpor, is the worst. It destroys our work. And so we need to overcome it with virya, which is what gets the upper hand over laziness, and with aiming, which is the opposite of sloth and torpor. So when our virya or effort is good, and when aiming is always also there, then the slack mind cannot possibly arise at all. One will have gained the upper hand over this. At the moment of rising, apply effort. Aim, observe steadfastly. At the moment of falling, apply effort. Aim, observe steadfastly. In walking, in the moment of lifting, moving and placing, the mind is on the leg. And if we want to know what is happening at those moments, at the moment of lifting, apply effort, aim, and observe steadfastly. At the moment of moving or at the moment of placing, apply effort, aim, and observe steadfastly. To get the mind there, we need the energy of pushing the mind to the object, and to have our effort be accurate, we need the energy of aiming. When we stand also, at the moment of standing, apply effort, aiming, and observe steadfastly. At the moment of turning, also apply effort, aim, observe steadfastly. And every other action that we make physically, the bending or stretching, when there's cause to bend or stretch, blinking, opening and closing the eyes. At each moment when an action occurs, to observe the arising action is the yogi's task. And so that laziness does not enter the mind, we apply effort to get the mind to the object, so that our observation is accurate, so that the mind does not slip off, and so that the mind will be fresh. One applies aiming. So when our effort and aiming are good, with virya, sleepiness, laziness is overcome, and with aiming, it's the opposite of sloth and torpor. So when these factors are good, the effort and aiming, then within a few days one can gain samadhi, concentration, and see the nature of the Dhamma. With that application of effort and aiming on the rising and the falling, sati automatically sticks. There's no need to deliberately create sati. When one has mental energy and the mind is accurately aimed, then sati sticks to the object. The mind sticks to the object automatically. This is the quality of sati. And if sati is present, then no raga, dosa and moha, no lust, anger or delusion can enter the mind. Sati guards the mind. This is the quality of rekha. And it prevents defilements from entering. And because of this, there's goti, which is security. So the mind that contains virya and aiming also has sati, and with sati defilements do not enter the mind. The mind is secure with the presence of sati. So if sati sticks to the arising object, to the object of observation, then the mind will stay there, and samadhi will follow, concentration. With samadhi, the mind will not be scattered. It won't go here and there. It won't go to the thoughts of sense pleasures. So one should consider this mind. Due to practice, Anupassana, repeated observation, occurs, and the continuity of this mind flows like a river. If one considers at that moment something that one likes, something that one desires, raga is not there, lust is not there, no dosa is there either, not even a little bit, no large-scale dosa either. The mind is pure and clean at that time. Only after lobha and dosa, greed and anger, are cleared out of the mind can knowledge arise. And therefore, from the moment that one begins one's days, all one's waking time, one should apply effort and aiming. Every time the object arises, apply effort and aiming to the object. If these two are present, then sati will stick to the object, and the mind will become secure. The mind will become collected, and it won't go anywhere else, especially it won't go to thoughts about desirable sense objects. This is called bhavana, creating the pure mind, developing it, enlarging it, making it occur again and again. When one brings this bhavana mind into existence and develops it, knowledge automatically occurs. Without the bhavana mind, knowledge will not occur. So for yogis, in order to make the mind clean, and in order to create the bhavana mind, the meditative mind, as soon as the object arises, apply effort, aim, and observe steadfastly, whatever the object is. This is all that one has to do, to apply effort and aiming. So one should have confidence in this. If one does this, the pure, clean mind will follow. Following on the pure, clean mind, knowledge will develop. In order to make this happen in just a few days, in order to make your time, however long a period of time you have here, beneficial, Sayadaw urges you very seriously to try. That's all for today.